Y'all see the topic. The LGBTQ lifestyle is being forced on our children. I'm not even going to speak long because quiet is kept. I was on TikTok a minute ago and I call myself simul streaming all of this. TikTok canceled my live right in the middle of me doing live 3 times. I appealed it each time. The first time, they approved it and reinstated my live feed. The second time, they reinstated it and restored my live feed. The third time, they refused to reinstate it. And the reason being is that they can do that because it's not enough of us standing up to fight for the rights of the people. It's not enough of us standing up to speak on behalf of the children. It's not enough of us. We're not doing it enough. We're not doing it enough. And right now, you have, for example, you have this lady behind me, Hannah Hoxie. Hannah Hoxie is a elementary school teacher out of Des Moines, Iowa, right? And she posted on her social media feed that every day is another opportunity. It's another opportunity to force kids in public school to be gay. Now, let me say this before anyone take anything that I'm saying out of context. I want to say this right off the bat. I have no qualms whatsoever with the LGBT community. What you do is your lifestyle. That's you. What I do is my lifestyle. That's me. That's not what this is about. I am talking about the children. I'm talking about the system, not the community. The LGBT community is a community, and they are human beings just like me, and everybody should be treated equal. But I'm not talking about the LGBT community. I am talking about the system that allows people like Hannah Hoxie, a school teacher, to force, this is her words, not mine, to force kids in public school to be gay. Do anybody see something wrong with that? She say, every day is another opportunity to force kids in public school to be gay. Come on, man. To force. Man, do y'all know how much that hurt? That here it is, we sending our children and grandchildren off to school thinking they're in a safe place. And we have these teachers like Hannah Hoxie talking about every day is another opportunity to force kids in public school to be gay. Think about that. Think about that one day that your child comes home, and you know when you sent the child, a little boy, a little girl off to school, they was happy, they was smiling, they was, they had their favorite toy with them, a phone or something, and they just couldn't wait to go to school. And they come home upset, crying. And you say, why are you crying? What's wrong? And your child say, Mom or Dad, this little boy named so-and-so, a little girl named so-and-so touched me and it didn't feel right. And you pissed off. You pissed off. You like, where was the teacher at in this situation? Somebody better answer me and tell me what happened with my child. And your child say, the teacher, the one was teaching the class about that. Come on now. I'm just giving a scenario in my skin peeling and my blood boiling. So I can imagine if that actually happened. And it has actually happened with many people, many people. Many people who are just silent right now. That their child went to school happy and came home traumatized. Came home traumatized because a teacher forced these kids into a lifestyle that they're not even old enough to understand. This teacher, when you force someone to do something, that means you take away that person's choice. You take it away. You force someone to get in the car, that means they didn't want to get in the car. That's why you had to use force to get them into the car. When you force someone to engage in a certain behavior, that means that they didn't want to engage in that certain behavior, but you had to force them. And that's a violation of their civil rights. That's a violation of their human rights. And that's a crime. So when these teachers are in these classrooms and these legislators and politicians are indoctrinating society to believe that it's all right to teach gender reassignment surgery and this type of stuff to young children, teach them that it's all right to think this way and think that way. To young children whose minds are not developed enough to understand exactly what it is that these people are forcing them to do and forcing them to think. Come on. This BS has to stop. The teachers, the politicians, these people are forcing this down the throats of little children. It's one thing to try to force it down the throats of adults who got a little bit of understanding on what this situation is, and they can make a choice, a sound-minded choice. But to force this on a child, that's deplorable. That's despicable. That's criminal. That's what it is. Just think about this. Think about this here. And I want anyone within the sound of my voice to chime in. I want you to think about this. I'm sure you all heard about how many school systems have made co-ed bathrooms where the little boys who identify as girls, they can go into the girls' bathroom and use the girls' bathroom. And I think that they could do the shower and all that type of stuff. These little boys, right? Little kids, they can do that, right? Certain school systems allow for it. That's not the question that I got for you is something different. Have you ever heard of a school system that allows for the little girl who identifies as a little boy and who dresses like a boy? Have you ever heard a school system that allows that little girl to go in that boy's bathroom? I haven't. And the reason being is that no matter if that girl dressed up like a boy, identified herself as a boy, the little boys in that bathroom still see her as a girl. And so we have been taught to believe that because the boys will always see this person as a little girl, it would be inappropriate to send that girl into a boy's bathroom to use the bathroom with the boys or to shower with the boys. But we have also been taught to believe that if it's a boy who identifies as a little girl, it's okay to send him in the girl's bathroom in the shower or whatever, because he identifies as being a girl. So it's accepted. No different than sexuality, women on women relationships are more acceptable than the men on men relationship, because men on men is taboo. It's taboo. But the women, it's a fantasy. That's what we're taught. It's a fantasy here to have two women engage in this, but it's taboo to have two men or see two men engage in this. It's taboo. This is why they will not allow a little girl who identifies as being a boy to enter a boy's bathroom or men's shower. Even in sports, they will not allow the girl who identifies as a boy to play on those boys sports teams and go to those showers with those boys or men. But on the other hand, they will allow the little boy who identify as the girl to play on sports teams, engage in all of the things that the girls engage in. Because this is what's being taught in these classrooms. These are ideas that's being forced on our little children. These are the ideas that's being forced on our little children. And I'm saying right now that we have to stand up on behalf of our children. We can't allow the system, to indoctrinate our children with sexuality or what their sex should be, how they should be accepting of whatever sexual preference, that they just should be accepting of it. Because what ends up happening is children's minds absorb all of this information. And as they grow older, they remember all of this information. And as soon as a certain situation befalls them, they may respond negative. And it all goes back to what they was taught. He may have been a little boy or she may have been a little girl in the class that didn't agree with this teacher teaching this type of stuff, didn't even understand it, didn't want to accept it, didn't even want to hear it. But the teacher imposed that thought on that child, in the words of Hannah Hoxie, to force the kids in public school to be gay. To force. Those were her words, not mine. You see it right there. Every day is another opportunity to force kids in public schools to be gay. Her words, not mine. But that's just one teacher. It's many other teachers, just like her. Just like her, who feels that every day is another opportunity to force kids. She didn't even say teach kids. She said force kids. That means that there's a violation going on right there, an acknowledgement of a violation. When you know that you have to force someone to act outside of their nature, or to subscribe to behaviors that is not consistent with their sexuality, that's a crime. Today and yesterday, we also refer to that as grooming. I'm not going to hold y'all up too long. I just want one more minute to make this point. If this teacher, I'm not talking about just her, I'm talking about people like her. People like her, if we allow them type of teachers to teach our children to engage in or to accept sexual behaviors and sex acts that goes against who they are or who they think they are, because a child really doesn't know. But if we allow these type of teachers to do this, then we just allow that teacher to change the entire lifestyle, the whole trajectory of life for our child. She took our parental responsibilities out of our hand. She took the innocence away from the child and dictated that child's life. And I think that we must stand up. We must stand up to this type of corruption, this type of grooming. We must identify this type of grooming, call a spade a spade. We must suspend any teacher, any politician, anyone who tries to force sexuality on someone, because there's many entertainers who are presently facing charges or incarcerated for grooming, doing the exact same acts. No different than 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, 21-year-old male or female, teaching 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids next door down the street about sexuality, or teaching them to be accepting of certain behaviors. And then when that child comes home to mom or dad, and that child has been touched, and that child tells mom or dad that the guy or girl down the street said it was okay, and so they let them do it, and that mom or dad is furious and enraged and calls the police. But why? Why would you call the police unless you acknowledge that that type of behavior that older person did to that child was called grooming, and a violation of that child's civil and human rights, and possibly even could be considered molestation. I'm gonna close with saying peace and love to those within the sound of my voice. And for those who cannot hear the sound of my voice, I said pass along the message, because someone needs to be